We are getting into the last round of 16 game. It's yet another best of 3. The winner will face Foggy, and it's one of the best German players or European players we have. He made it to DreamHack Finals against Happy. Unfortunately lost there, but still, this guy is tearing people apart, especially in this matchup. It's really, really hard to match him, and his opponent is coming from NA, so we know that there can only be one result, and that's a 5-0 for Exlord, even though his opponent is very good. I love his surrounds, I love his micro. It's the best micro NA. It's gonna be Insub. Germany versus Canada. Of course, we're gonna need a German versus Canada cast there as well. And it's Ricky and Remo.
Oh, baby. Remo Demo. How are you, bud?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this cast. You know, I feel like I don't have as much of a horse in a race as you do, because Europe has proven itself time and time again for being very good already in WGL and everywhere else, whereas NA has been a joke for so long. So it seems like there's even more pressure now on you and on the region to disprove.
I can't believe you said you have no horse in this race. Did you send one of these players a lock of your hair glued to a picture frame? You are very invested in this game.
I kept my word. I kept my word. But Exlord, you know, he's won so much before. He's beaten Happy before. He's proven it all before. He doesn't really have to deliver here to make people realize how good he is. Whereas Insub, you know, I actually think he is a really good player. Not really on the same level as Exlord, but a good player. And however, when it came to the big performances, the big matches in DreamHack, he sort of crumbled in the sense that against the big boys, against Cruncher and Hitman, he didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I think Insub's been having a hard time, I mean, trying to get into the top 2 of NA, but Hitman and Cruncher would do some serious work against Europe as well. So it's not the worst deal in the world for Insub. Insub does play a lot, a full-time streamer, does grind a lot of games, is always in good shape. And yeah, Exlord is obviously a fantastic player. That's what makes this matchup so exciting. Both players opening Ted Fiends, which is also very exciting. I was expecting maybe CryptLord. I was definitely expecting a Lich first from Insub, but both players actually going Ted Fiends makes me feel like there's a lot more preparation in the series than we thought. What do you think about this opener so far?
Yeah, that mirror is very interesting. There's multiple different styles available at the moment. Happy plays the Lich first as almost the only one. Then there's a lot of old school zealots, I want to say, who want to stick with the micro style of Ted Fiend build, which is sort of the most boring one, but also one of the most difficult to execute. And then there's the CryptLord player. So there's kind of like 3 different camps. And Exlord very clearly, along with the other Mousesports boys, has been convinced that CryptLord is no longer the way to go in this matchup, but it is back to DK Fiends. And I think actually Insub was perhaps the most vocal out of all the players, along with Happy, about not liking CryptLord at all. So I wasn't too surprised to see him move away from this. I'm pretty damn sure we're not going to see CryptLord at all in this series, unless it's going to be on Echo Isles or Terranus, but I would assume those maps are good.
Yeah, I don't think Insub's ever really been on the CryptLord wagon for sure. Even when it was like really meta, maybe a couple of games, but that was only really to try it out. His style has always really just been DK first against it, and he's one of the players that's actually been able to break out and beat CryptLord first expansions with that fast DK harass style, which we've started to see. And I agree with you. I think the DK style's starting to come back. I definitely don't think CryptLord's out of the picture. I just think, like, you know, some players that are comfortable with that DK, they'll just open DK and they don't have a problem with it. But yeah, I know that Insub's also been trying to copy that Happy Lich style. That's why I'm mostly confused why he didn't go Lich first, because it's also very good against DK. I mean, it's just a very good style, very good strategy. But yeah, Ted Fiends is going to mean both players are just creeping out a lot more. So we should see level 3 apiece, and then maybe the only time they can test each other, maybe at the shops, I would imagine, because I think both players' plans right now is to just get level 3 as quickly as possible.
Yeah, normally in the Ted Fiend mirror, things are pretty stable and predictable in the early. You're just going to go for your creep route. Normally there's not too much fighting going on. If one of the players wants to be wild, he can decide to play very aggressively on tier 1 and then follow up with a Naga on tier 2, which can be good, but honestly is hardly ever played anymore nowadays, which is a bit of a shame. Was a fun style, especially very well played in the past. By 1-2-0, But let's not forget about our supporters. We had Omniac with the 200 bits coming in, and Priest with the 10 euros. Probably wants to represent NA. Let's see what he has to say. What's up, Kerr? My guy Carson and be doing they thing. Oh, okay, now I get it. I'm rolling this badass Florida blunt for Insub. This for you, Kerr. All right, Priest is in a good mood and hopes that NA is going to triumph here. Let's see if they will. So far,
Thanks, Johnny.
nothing really.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny Walker. Do you know that his name in real life is Johnny Walker? I don't want to say his name in real life, but I just did in front of tons of people. Johnny Walker, which is the delicious alcohol.
The alcohol?
Yeah. He's named after the alcohol. Yeah. Is that a sign? Anyway.
Is that how you order the drink at the bar? I would like to have one alcohol, please.
Can I get the delicious alcohol, please? Yeah, you know how I roll, baby. Insub being super aggressive blocking. This is some of the micro style that we've seen from Insub. This is how he can chip away and get ahead. Exlord down to 1 coil, but he has to get in range of that fiend. There it is. Last one.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Insub's got
Look at
tons
that
of
block,
coils,
though.
Remo.
He's going to get that fiend. Nicely done by Insub. He's also got great items. Oh, no, he messed it up. Oh, he's not going to get it in the end. Oh, that was such a great play. It almost resulted in a kill, but he gets the redemption. He surrounds the fiend.
Surround.
And Exlord notices he's not to underestimate this opponent right here.
Yeah, you can't do that. Insub will always try to take advantage of these small micro plays. Sometimes it bites him, but sometimes it kicks. And right now, Insub definitely taking a bit of a lead there. Lich coming out, Slaughterhouse on the way, as well as tier 3. Everything is looking good for Insub, especially that low fiend in the base. Exlord kind of has to play defensive, Remo, and that could mean Insub taking some of the big camps that we thought would be contested. They kind of might go Insub's way unless Exlord plays risky, which he seems to be doing right now.
Exlord showing his experience, though. He knows when you pull out the camp, the Ogre Magi remains behind, and then you can just steal it. Fiend got ensnared, but gets away, and Insub wasn't able to steal this camp. And perhaps
block
small
on the
mistake by
lich.
Insub.
Insub again going...
Calm yourself, Ricky. The lich is fine. He's also got the heal potion now, which is going to be very helpful. But no Narrow in the base and no statues yet. This could actually be a cue for Insub to even push into this base aggressively.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this dive in right now, but Insub's feeling it right now. He's got a lot of Novas lined up for this Lich if he wants to use it. The Fiend misrallied. Does he not have Nova? Okay, he does have Nova. That's a dead Fiend, 100%. Insub is stealing units right now, essentially stealing units. Save, okay. So far, so good for Insub, but he needs to get out because right now his Lich is kind of vulnerable. Oh, Exlord might lock that in.
I think he can kill the Lich, though. He doesn't have enough firepower. The DK has 2 coils, and Insub now with 2 Fiend kills in the early. Huge advantage for the Canadian. But the tier 3 is going to finish for Exlord. He's going to have to slow off the Black Citadel. The Lich might be going down, though he does! Insub, oh my god, what a thunderous start for him on the first map, and he's got the next round!
No
this is like GG already.
No coils yet. That's a Lich and a Fiend and the TP. He could do some... Oh, he could have stayed a little bit longer. Could have stayed a little bit longer for that last Fiend, but the Lich did not buy an orb yet. Very unlucky. But Insub right now has the orb, has tier 3 Remo, and is up 6 supply, which is 2 Fiends. And the Canadian, you know, you said NA sucks. Kind of eating your words here, Remo Demo. You maybe should have sent him... maybe you sent him the wrong type of hair. Maybe you should have, you know, trimmed a little lower and gave him the real good luck. What do you think about that?
I'm keeping that for the next Meisterschaft Championship.
Better keep
that
that
from
from me.
Other hair left over here as well, so who knows? The winner here will be receiving a present. Maybe you can give me the address of Insub. I don't have that one yet. But yeah, this is a great early game for Insub. Now, sometimes the players that are not too experienced, which I guess you should say Insub is, however, cannot always fashion such an advantage into an actual win. Sometimes that advantage is squandered. So how is Insub going to try to capitalize from his good position and actually get the W now? Expansion with the lead is oftentimes a way to go, but we don't see that yet by Insub. He just keeps on creeping with a huge Fiend lead.
Yeah, I think the problem here was Insub actually got +1 attack on Fiends, I think. And that slowed down his ability to buy that third hero, which would have been the Dark Ranger. And that's how you can kind of get an edge in close assist with just, you know, good silences, picking off more units and just running away with this game, which I think right now Insub is on the brink of doing if he picks up a few more units. And he does actually get that, and Exlord misses the coil, but he does get the Dark Ranger. Now Insub has to be careful because now he's facing Exlord silences. But is there even any damage right now, Remo? Because Exlord's army is very small. He doesn't have that Fiend. There's 5 Fiends to 2 Fiends.
That Nova versus Coil, that kill threshold was so close. He measured that with like a ruler. That was just barely enough to get that kill. Insub continuing to look really good. A weakness that we've been seeing from Exlord, especially in Meisterschaft, is sometimes he takes a while to get into a series. He oftentimes looks a lot worse on the first map, and I think we're seeing this here.
Oh, the sandwich with silence on the DK. Remo, sorry to cut you off, but this is very close. One statue about to go down. Insub's picking up a unit. That was a really nice wraparound with the Dark Ranger, and Exlord's got to go back. He did pick up the Helm of Valor, which is good, but this is really intense. And like you said, this is what it's going to come down to, that type of experience. Exlord, certainly well experienced with being playing from behind. He's played against Happy. He's played against high-level undeads. Insub, ahead against a player like Exlord, can he close it? This is what it's going to be about. How do you choke out Exlord up ahead, or do you crumble, and does Exlord chip away at you with his experience? This is the Meisterschaft King we're talking about.
Absolutely. Silence coming in, hits the DK, going for the Fiend. We do have Frost Armor here, by the way, which is good on level 2, but it's going to be much worse than Dark Ritual on level 4 and onward. But so far, Insub has been hitting all the cylinders here in this game. Oh, Statue's getting ensnared, Statue's getting slowed, the creeps get involved. Uh-oh, the neutrals conspiring to fire back against Canada.
And just as I say this, Insub's starting to lose a lot of units here, and he's not exactly closing the gap. He's kind of falling more and more behind. The DK taking a bit of damage, and Exlord's playing so patient, totally patient. He's got the statues in the back for mana. His Lich has just been novaing when he needs to. Insub might be able to pick up a Fiend here, but a quick Dark Ritual to, first of all, deny the experience, but also give him a little bit more mana on that Lich, considering the Fiend was going to go down anyway. And Insub really contesting this this Merc camp. This is so close. Exlord has been so patient, though. I gotta give him daps for this, because he was in a precarious situation where Insub had more units, but now he's starting to claw his way back. 5 Fiends to 4, and slowly Exlord's starting to come into this. And a rogue ghoul on the right side. I guess he's scouting for an expansion.
Yeah, exactly. Which honestly I think is what Insub should have done. Killing the Lich, killing those Fiends early. He could have so easily expanded on tier 3, but he decided not to do it, and that might bite him in the ass in the end. But once again, the Fiend kill goes towards the Canadian. Exlord didn't bring a dust. That's a clear mistake by the German, who, by the way, is famous for this patience. You wouldn't know it from his personality. He's pretty wild. He's a clown. He's a little abrasive sometimes, but he's extremely patient in-game, Exlord. Every time. He will never overextend, or at least extremely rarely do so. He will stay here in the north, keep trading hits for the next 15 minutes, if that's what it takes.
Okay, the Lich kind of tanky in the front, though. I don't like that positioning from Exlord. He kind of needs to keep that Lich in the back and maybe tank something else, because a good silence could go a long way here with it. No Nova yet for Insub, but the statues are pumping, and this could be soon. But so far, both players just chipping away at each other. Banshee with Adept training for anti-magic shell if need be. Second Banshee on the way as well as a third statue. So eventually, probably going to see that low mana statue turn into a destroyer and start to see Insub really go on the offensive here.
Big kill still up for grabs. By the way, Insub did it great. You want to apply the first 2 curses manually on the heroes. On the Lich first, then on the Dark Ranger. Absolutely perfect. Last hit goes to Exlord. Item. I don't even see it. Who got it?
Boots on the DK, I believe.
Oh, more actually for the Dark Ranger is going to be nice later. But the army here for Insub is still a lot bigger. Exlord is staying in, takes out 1 Fiend. He sees the
Lich,
Fiend
silence.
disadvantage, but he's not concerned. TP transfer, gets the Lich out, kills perhaps another Banshee. Oh, that one just barely got away. And I think there was only a single unit actually going down in that exchange here the last couple of seconds.
Now, I have a question for you, Remo Demo. You know, you're the Skill Cup champ. You're very good on dead player. Insub breaking to 60 supply. Exlord sitting and banking. How long is this a risk for Exlord, and how long does he have to bank for it to really kick in and start to see him with an edge? Obviously, Mana Stone coming from the lab, but you know, what is the difference between breaking right away and banking a little bit, and how does that help Exlord?
The idea for Insub is he wants to have a big army to contest the map all the time. He still feels he's with an advantage, which he is. So he wants to be able to take out all the remaining big camps, which usually he should be able to get with a bigger army. But he didn't get the item in the north. That was the Quel'Thala's boots. And it's not to be underestimated on the Dark Ranger. She doesn't have the craziest attack speed, but those right clicks do add up over time. And now the next red camp. Insub also giving up 2 red camp items should never happen after this early game, but he wants to fight for the big Ogre Lord. Silence are going to be key here to prevent these spells. Lich standing in the front line, tanking the damage. I like that he keeps the ring on the Lich. Also invul on Exlord to protect the hero. It's all about positioning now. The proper concave and the proper kiting.
This is a plus 23 Lich for Insub as well. A lot of damage, but he needs to get that Lich up in the front line before he takes that fight. Nova coming out on the Fiends, but the coil should be there silence, but I don't think there's actually much damage in range, so Exlord won't lose that Fiend, but he does have to give up this red camp positioning, and Insub continuing to push the tempo, actually, coil on the Fiend, but immediately it gets Nova, and I think Insub's going to lose a Fiend here. Does Exlord? No, but so far, Exlord chipping away, starting to nuke down the DK, but now he has Dust this time, and this time he's using it on the Fiends of Insub, and Insub's got to back up because he's kind of losing a lot here. Not the best positioning, and Exlord, we talk about chipping away, and the experience is starting to kick in because now he's taking a bit of a lead, and Insub's on the back foot. Wow, this is so incredibly high level.
Supply and the higher level on the DK. He had the Destroyer earlier. He had the better Lich, but he can't close it out. Exlord with insane patience. He's not backing away from the engagement. He's always threatening a contest against the creep camp and lures Insub in just a slightly unfavorable position, and then
oh no,
peeks away at him.
Okay, he does get the experience and the item. Oh, that could have been so dangerous. He's pulling the... I agree with you. It's so high level IQ from Exlord, but both players are playing very good right now, and this is a very knife's edge undead mirror game on LR. So this is just... This could go down to a bad silence. This could go down to a bad fight. This is neck and neck even. I would say Exlord has a bit of an upgrade advantage with that +1 armor, but I mean, an undead mirror with the right silence and Nova and nukes, this could go either way with 59 versus 59 supply. This is so close right now.
And actually, again, look at him. He's just poking with the Lich. He's not committing in. He's going to wait for Insub to step too far forward, eat the big Nova, and then take a bad engagement. And the Lich is the front liner here, which is the proper thing to do if you have the invul potion. Also, of course, Exlord, the level 3 Lich, level lead now, which is crazy, considering how this game started. One Banshee out of position. There we go. That's Insub being impatient and going in too quick in a bad position. And Exlord is gladly going to take that invitation. Lots of Fiends now going down, but that Nova, you saw it by Insub, it was too early, didn't get the kill, and every Nova here should pretty much result in a kill. Destroyer is now being morphed. Only one statue still left on the ground. Insub 57 supply against 62. Exlord is starting to edge ahead a little bit, but also a couple of kills going Insub's way. He's got some Dark Minions coming in now as well. Fiend count still very comparable. Banshees, hardly any left now anymore, as it seems. But in this extended engagement, the Lich bonus damage on Insub also is doing heavy lifting. Boro coming in more and more. We don't have the reveal anymore. Destroyer for the Exlord still. Dispelling a lot. Always has the mana against the curse, of course, very important. Exlord now misses the coil. That's a big deal there as well. Another statue going down. Insub 51 supply. Exlord still with a bit of a lead. Lich is not too much mana anymore. Insub's going to have one more Nova in a little bit. Dark Ranger level 3 for Exlord. That's a huge deal now for these next Dark Minions.
And the dust, the lack of dust for Insub really starting to affect him. Look how many burrowed Fiends Exlord's been able to save, and Exlord's been targeting the right units. Another Destroyer goes down, whereas he's just targeting Fiends, Insub is. And I feel like he's not winning these trades either. Exlord's kind of running away with this map. And the lack of dust is a huge problem. Targeting the Dark Ranger, the coil's always there. Although both DKs are completely out of mana. There's a mana stone on Exlord, and he's going to pop that and stay in this fight. And this is way too bad for Insub. Another dust, another burrowed Fiend dead. Wow. This is not looking good for the Canadian, but this is looking exceptional for Exlord. Look how many Fiends he has burrowed, Remo. There's 5!
Sick comeback by Exlord. The patience. I love how this is a typical classic Exlord game. He just hangs in there. He's going to stick around. He's going to be a nuisance. He's going to go on your nerves until you lose patience. You go in and you expose yourself to a bad position, and then he's going to punish you. This is something we've been seeing from the German for such a long time, but perhaps something that Insub hasn't experienced too much yet. After this early game, he should have just expanded. He didn't. And this is what cost him the game.
100%. Incredible bait and switches, you know, constantly kiting. And I think Insub's having a hard time figuring out when to engage. And the time he did engage, he didn't have the right assets, didn't have the dust, didn't have a way to kill these units. And now he's out of coils, and he's only got a couple Novas. And the Lich has tons of damage, but he's not targeting the right units. And I think Exlord now is getting to a point 60 supply where he's just got too much. And the 2-1 upgrades are so good. DK has tons of mana, Lich as well. And the Dark Ranger coming back over from the shop, buying yet again another dust. Exlord knows that's how he's winning these games. And with 62 supply, now he's in Insub space. Insub's got to hold this, and I don't think he can.
Exlord with a bit weird movement right here. Oh, the Nova connects big time, though. Takes out one Banshee right away. If the Lich falls, of course, it's game. fighting into the Black Citadel. Could be a mistake, though. XlorD usually never overextends. Is this the one time?
Oh,
DK getting
DK.
focused, dropping low. Death Knight might be falling on both sides. He gets level 5 and gets the Death Pact at the perfect moment. Insub calls for the GG in a heartbreaking game. Insub is never again gonna get such a good early game against XlorD for the next few years, and he doesn't manage to transition that into a win, and that is something that can break a player.
That was an incredible game. I was so shocked that Insub was so far ahead, but XlorD, like you said, with the experience, just chipping away, gets it done. That Death Pact right at the end was just a cherry on top of a great performance. 1-0 for XlorD, but this is a banger of a series.
I feel like that was the perfect example of these two players stylistically. Insub gets ahead with these small micro exchanges in the early game. He gets a surround, he gets a nice block, gets ahead, gets a lot of kills, very much ahead, and then he overextends to the fight, and XlorD shows his experience and his patience, like Remo pointed out. And it's a perfect example of these two players. Perhaps, the advantages they both have, and the advantage for XlorD is probably a bigger one because Insub really overeager, I feel like, that game.
Since you're all so serious and analytical about things, I'm gonna say XlorD giving Insub all the gifts in the world in the early game, and NA still can't beat this guy. What more has to happen? But no, I definitely agree that this was an incredible early game by Insub, and Carson, you pointed it out perfectly. I said in the introduction, best micro NA. And chat was saying, best micro NA, lol. And then boom, here's the block, here's the surround, here's the kills. Like, Insub in this low supply is so good in the execution. But XlorD, what a general, man. He just hangs back. He knows exactly when to defend, when to attack, what to get. But by no means a perfect game by XlorD. But Remo said it during the cast already. I'm just repeating you guys because all your points were so good. The longer XlorD plays, the better he gets. He's warmed up now. We clearly saw that in the fights, and I'm really curious how Insub deals with this now mentally, kind of throwing away this game or giving away this game or having XlorD take back the game is probably the best way to put it. He still has another shot in this best of 3, but his back is against the wall. Let's go concealed.
Yeah, like they're trying to be nice to Insub, saying, XlorD was given the chance to come back. That was the biggest throw of the tournament, dude. He killed 3 Fiends and the Lich in the early game.
Yeah, it was incredible.
There is no better scenario you can hope for. And he couldn't win it that way, which, if I was in Insub's shoes, I would be ultra tilted right now, and there would be no way I could play well now. I hope Insub can do that despite that massive throw. But he has been known to be a little emotional at times and get affected by such things.
Yeah, I think just really, Insub is always a player that's going to chip away in the early game and with those small micro moves get himself into a lead. But it's, he hasn't played a player like XlorD who can push him to the brink of, yeah, you're in a lead, but can you hold it? Can you actually chip away? Can you actually finish me? And I think Insub, deciding to contest that Merc camp so long, instead of, take the advantage, he can't fight you. He can chip away, but he can't fight you. Go for big camps, take the big creeps. Maybe the decision to try to end the game without really the knowledge of how to really pull that off, because he hasn't really executed that against a player of that magnitude, against a player like XlorD. So this could be a series where we constantly see Insub chipping away at a wall that he hasn't faced yet, which is an undead player at the caliber of XlorD. But game number 2, I could be wrong. Maybe he just gets owned.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a mental test now, this game too. What are we going to see from Insub? I would love to see him still apply his strength, try to get ahead early, but then play it patiently. Go into a creeping game, and if you have a lead, go for an expo. The 5th supply expo in Undead Mirror is super strong, even without a lead. With a lead, it's oftentimes game winning. We'll see if he can get into such a lead once again. Normally, on Concealed, the level 3 creep out is very clear. With the claws into green, shop green, and that's level 3. And before that, we shouldn't expect too much action or interaction. And yeah, both here playing the honorable style again of DK Fiends.
I love it. Because I'm not going to lie, that game on LR was super exciting. I'm really excited to see CH. CH, obviously, tons of contestable camps. Obviously, the health fountains where we can really see how these players want to engage that, how early the web is, like you said, how early the expos, and yeah, this is gonna be exciting. But I really, yeah, it's heartbreaking, man. You know, not only as a Canadian, but just, you know, someone that watched that game as an undead player. It's hard to watch Insub play like that, which I think he's playing amazing, but just not close it. So he has to shake that off. He can't tilt. He's got to stick to the basics on CH and just kind of go into it as 0-0. And so level 2 for both players. And yeah, like you said, they're probably just going to do the turtles and then the shops, and then we'll see how they want to go to the crabs and eventually maybe pull the red in the middle. But there's a lot of different variations, Remo. What variations do you think are more standard for XlorD style on this map?
Well, as far as build goes, it should be very predictable. It's going to be Lich into tier 3, into Slaughter, and then, you know, Fiend statues. But the creep route is where it's going to deviate, probably. So level 3 creep route is always the same. You take the merchant now, you take the crabs later, that's level 3. But then, moving on from level 3, that's kind of the difficulty. If you want to be very brazen, you can try to go for the enemy lab, especially if you have something like Wand of Illusion. But it's not that easy to do. And Insub making a mistake here creeping. He didn't kill the High Priest fast enough. So there was double inner fire at the camp. Normally it's only supposed to be 1 inner fire. That's a little unfortunate, but it's not going to result in too much of a health and mana difference, I guess. In fact, Exlord also made a bit of a whoopsie, took too much damage on the Fiend, but that one can be healed up quickly. And Exlord got the Wand of Illusion, and that enables new creeping options, like, for example, the enemy lab, or if you want to go real crazy, you could even try the red camp in the middle, but that is highly risky.
Finally, level 3 for Exlord, and he's going to be able to coil that Fiend. That was very, very low, so mistake solved there, and Insub as well going to get his level 3. But yeah, tier 2's hit. Here comes the Lich should be for both players. Insub's a little bit later, took a lot of damage on that shop as well. Could be a little cute play if Exlord remembers that and maybe wants to dive in, kill the shop. It could be very annoying when it comes orb time. But yeah, like you said, Exlord going for the enemy lab, and Insub's not even close to here. And this could be very annoying because Insub might actually get here to go creep as soon as it's actually completely gone. And you've essentially just wasted a lot of time because all of this is a plus for Exlord, and this is really just Insub running around the map.
So you have to scout for this option, and if it's happening, you either A, have to prevent it, or B, have to counter with your own lab steal. Insub managed neither. He just wasted time, and his creeping was a lot slower.
No.
And now he's going to have to cancel the tech and get his slaughterhouse canceled. And this is a very bad early game for Insub indeed. He gets surround, you know, cute little play, forces the TP, and that's a bit of redemption there. But that TP is nowhere as important as those cancels and that steal of the period camp.
Definitely slows down your tier 3 tech, and we're seeing that a bit. Exlord already halfway down, just to give you guys perspective of how delayed this is for Insub. You're teching behind and you don't have your slaughterhouse. In fact, you're still waiting on the wood, which is, yeah, just really bad. What you have to do now is take the only advantage that Insub does have, and he is going to do this. He's just going to dive and take a fight, knowing that his opponent does not have a counter TP. And here we go. The Creep Jack is in, and Insub knows exactly what Exlord's doing, but he doesn't have enough. And then Snare on one of his Fiends, and this could be a lost unit, if not a lot of damage, maybe a lot of coils. He actually surrounds it. That's a dead Fiend, and Insub, you messed up. This wasn't the right play.
He feels forced to do it, though. He's already behind in creeps. He cannot really give up the red camp. And creep jacking at this red camp is really tough, as we saw there. You walk through the camp, you get ensnared, and then you get turned around on. The Ogre Lord is still a little bit iffy on this map, and is, in my opinion, the only problem on this otherwise perfect map. Concealed Hill, I think, actually nowadays is the best map. No longer Northern Isles.
Wrong.
But the big item is still up for grabs, and both, of course, would love to have it. Insub has had a tough time here so far. Exlord, again, he's going to be patient. He's going to be tier 3 in a second, and then he can either go for Dark Ranger or Orb, both of which, or one of which, is going to give him a big advantage.
And Exlord's already hitting those timings, Remo, perfectly. He's going to hit the orb right at the shop, and he's going to sit next to his tavern and kite all day like he's been doing in this series until he eventually gets a Dark Ranger, and then he could just do whatever he wants. This Ogre Lord still not crept out as well. Exlord does need to wait a bit to get that Dark Ranger, but... I mean, he's got the orb, and Insub's on the other side of the map without one. And I don't even know, like, does he want to research backpack at tier 3, or does he want to go all the way back home? I think the play right now is to get as much as he can from this red camp and then go back home. But Exlord with the snipe. Oh, man. Swiper, no swiping, but Dorian here to stop you this time. Exlord's taking that experience, taking 2 camps. So 2 of the creeps so far. The Overlord's going to be the big one, though. And Insub needs to get it. Doesn't get it. Exlord gets all 3. And he gets the item. It's Django. Oh, my God. Insub.
Exlord there with the faster fingers. I think the host at the moment is favoring him a little bit, so perhaps that came into play there. And Exlord does get the item even before the Dark Ranger, which should be coming any moment now. But at least Insub stalled enough that he's also going to have tier 3 and Dark Ranger. Should get her now. Is he tier 3? Yes. Oh, he missed getting her at the tavern. And now it's going to be really hard to get that 3rd hero.
Yeah, you either shake and bake a fiend wrapping around, or you try to push Exlord back to get it. But Exlord's definitely going to get the Dark Ranger right now, and he certainly does. And you should probably hold this tavern. He's giving it up to go to the lab or the red. Interesting. Okay, so Insub's going to get his 3rd hero regardless, but what can he really creep? Insub going to realize only a Forest Troll Trapper there, which is not a lot of experience. And the only thing left, Remo, is Expos and the red camps after this lab is done for Exlord.
Oh my god, he's going to have such a level disadvantage soon. The Lich is going to get 2 in a moment, and the DK is going to get 4. This is almost unwinnable.
It's
First
a completely...
of all, though, Dark Ranger has to come in, but Insub is... He hasn't lost too much yet this game, but it is looking rather catastrophic for the Canadian.
Yeah, it's a night and day difference from the last map. Not the advantage that Insub had before and lost the game. Right now, another Fiend about to go down, and it does go down. Exlord's just taking all of the advantages he can right now. Coil on the Fiend, because why not? Burrow, and again, we do have Dust this time from Insub, though, and we do see the Fiends dying. Dark Ritual this time, not going to Insub, but still... Insub does correct one of the mistakes from last game.
DK level 4, so level 2 aura now, plus endurance, against only level 1 Unholy on the other side. Exlord with a huge lead. I really like his Dark Ritual play here. Frost Armor, I know it's kind of fashionable nowadays, but I don't think it's the really best way to go. Insub cannot even choose yet a 2nd skill point because he's stuck on level 1 Lich, excuse me. And this whole game, he felt like he had to keep fighting for the creeps because he was behind on creeps already, and it all started with the lab. With the lab, he started falling behind because he didn't scout it fast enough. And Exlord was lucky enough to find those Wand of Illusions. Scroll the Beast now popped as well, even more damage coming in for the German. 1 Fiend goes down on each side. Insub has to fall back. He cannot fight against the scroll on top of all the other disadvantages. But Exlord's so fast. Just look at him chasing. Could be another Fiend right there. Silence about to wear off. Actually, no. It was just used. So 2 Fiend kills there for Exlord. He can fall back to the fountain, get the next red camp, and get further and further ahead.
Yeah, with the Aura and the Django, I don't even think a TP would be a fast enough way to run away at this point. This army is so fast from Exlord. He can really just chase down everything, and Insub is just constantly trying to figure out a way to get in. He's trying to engage right now, Remo, with no mana on his Lich. I mean, there's no mana on the Lich of Exlord either, but the damage output is just so real, and when you have Django, you just attack faster, you move faster, everything. You're just going to do everything quicker if you're Exlord. So I don't know what Insub does right here, but this is a very, very slippery slope and a bad situation to be in. And the invuln obviously bought from Exlord as well. Everything is just going in the way of Exlord. Exlord's putting on a clinic on this map. I'm not going to lie to you. This is just really clean. At no point do I see him looking behind.
Yeah, and day and night change for Insub. I think we got our answer whether the first game was going to affect him. It was really sloppy creeping in the early game, and also the scouting wasn't there, and I think usually Insub is much better than that. And just from there, it's been going downhill. And Exlord's always going to be patient. He's not going to overextend. He's not going to go into a bad position. He's not going to feel the need to fight when he doesn't have to. He's going to take this one step at a time and play this pretty much perfect from here on out.
Yeah, Insub not even researching web, so he's kind of just sitting around at the health fountain and giving up all the camps to Exlord. Kind of looking indecisive, like he doesn't really know what to do. You certainly can't fight uphill over at the fountain because you're just gonna lose. It's just not a good position to have, especially with Banshees coming in, and Belt of Giant Strength drop from the DK makes him a little bit more tankier, but I don't think Exlord's worried about that. He wants to worry about the units, and a nice web on the Destroyer, but Insub might actually kill a Fiend. Okay, Dark Ritual on one of the Fiends. So far, so good for Insub. He's actually trying to chip away and trying to fight this, and with the Destroyers pop, he might be able to get an advantage here. Coil on both Fiends. How can Insub actually chip away here? It's a pretty desperate attempt
here by Insub. These Destroyers are going to be pretty bad in the late game, but he feels like he has to go for this power spike right now and win with the Destroyers with mana, but the mana is now gone, and the fight wasn't won yet. The anti-magics, the 2 or 3 or maybe 4 that were available there made a big difference. Exlord is finding more and more kills. His 2 upgraded fiends, by the way, are having a great fight. Insub lost too much. He couldn't afford these upgrades himself. Had to get back up to 50. First destroyer was taken out already. Second one's going to fall as well. Insub's going to tap out. And Exlord will be making it through. Second map, very clear, very one-sided. But on map 1, Insub showed what he is capable of. But he has to work on his patience and his transitions out of the early game.
Yeah, and I just want to say something really quick. Like, Insub played really well. Exlord played exceptionally well. But you kind of, and I know it's easy to say that because Insub just lost the series, but you kind of wish that Insub stuck to the guns that we see him do on his stream and the things that he's comfortable with. And I don't think that's Ted Fiends and Undead Mirror. I think it's Lich first and just super aggressive. And I wanted to see how Exlord kind of adapts and reacts to that style, but both players just playing honorable, like you said, and it was a great series. But I don't really feel like we got to see Insub's style at its best. And, it's kind of a negative takeaway to the series, but still well played to both players.
Carson, your impression of game 2?
Oh, Canada. I think Exlord just showed us a perfect example of Insub has a very strong style, I feel, when he's on an even playing field with somebody or when somebody he's playing is below him, right? He has a very flashy micro-based style, very aggressive, lots of creep checks, in your face at all times, and it can work. But Exlord just showed us what happens when you try to do that against a player who is clearly stronger. That's how you abuse it. You creep in his face. You play patiently. You don't take unnecessary fights. You let him overextend. And we saw, Insub going for some fancy stuff. There was one fight where he went for a surround at the start, lost a fiend, then went for a block on the DK, lost another fiend to a silence. And there's just too much fancy stuff. And Exlord shows his experience. And he shows that that's how you counter Insub style, but it's not that easy. It's much easier said than done. And Exlord, very impressive performance, I got to say.
EU number 1, ladies and gentlemen. We own the 2-on-2 tournament. We smacked out NA of the 1-on-1 tournament. And now it is Asia versus Korea left in this tournament. We got Happy, Lawlight on the top side of the bracket. We got Fly waiting in the semi-final. And we have one more quarterfinal to determine who has the honor to match Fly tomorrow in the semis. Is it Foggy? Is it Exlord? I don't know, but I know that this is going to be a banger of a match. The last match between them, I remember, was, I guess, WGL Western Qualifier Finals, winner bracket final. And that match on Last Refuge came down to a 7 HP Tree of Life on the high ground that Foggy held. It was absolute nuts. Since then, Foggy has stepped up his game against Undead especially. How good is Exlord against Night Elf nowadays? That might be a little bit of a shaky thing right there. But he's definitely warmed up, and he's looking pretty damn hot here on CH. Shout out to Insub, who grinded a lot to qualify for this, and I guess with a couple of other opponents, he is a contender for the quarterfinals. Hopefully he's gonna grind as much as he did this time and qualifies for Season 7. We are now in the area 51 of crowdfunded money, 5,100. Thank you very much, Milk Wars, for the 10 euros. Remo Demo is number 1 handsome boy.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Very nice of you.
All right. We take a little break. Anybody want anything to add here? Otherwise, we take a break, and then we got Exlord, Foggy, last years of the day.
I was just going to call Remo a pretty boy in a southern accent, but that can wait till the break. So
yeah,
ahead,
mine can wait for the break as well.
Okay.
Let's grab some popcorn. It takes 3 minutes to pop in my microwave. I got insane wattage, baby. Let's go.
Whatever he says.